Welcome everybody back to the True That Show. We're so excited. This week we have somebody that's going to make us ask ourselves a question. That question is, have you ever made a decision because you knew you had to make it, but wasn't sure that you should? So Caroline, we're going to get into Brenda's story, right? Have you ever made a decision when you knew you had to, but you were like, I don't know. And how much of our life have we lived in that kind of indifference of maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. Oh, maybe I've made this decision. Maybe I should go backwards. I don't know, maybe once or twice, but I'm going to start off this interview by asking you, Caroline, if you've ever done that.
You know what? I now that I'm approaching my 50s, I can clearly say that I know myself. But for most years, I made decisions or I took paths that people were like, you're so irresponsible, you're crazy. And I had no justification to give. I was just like, yeah, I am. Because I did follow Steve Jobs, one of this saying that he says, like, when you don't know, just say yes and figure it out. And I realize now that I did that my whole life. So I would have an intuition, I would have a gut feeling, but when you're younger, you don't always trust these gut feelings. So I would see an avenue somewhere and I would just jump in, not thinking, not analyzing, not blah, 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 what every logical person would say, analyze the risk before jumping in, analyze the financial consequences before jumping in. I never did that. And actually, I even took very big, like I had big positions in my corporate world back in the days. And I did take major decisions based on gut feelings. So did I make decisions that I regretted? Maybe. But they also really all taught me big lessons and big things, and they were all there for a reason. And I think one of the biggest one that I took was leaving the corporate world and jumping in as an entrepreneur. I always had this fiber in me, and I actually helped, a few people along the way who hired me to build their business. And I was doing really well, but I had always like the security paycheck every single 2 weeks, But so I was an entrepreneur, but not gutsy enough to do it for myself until I actually jumped. And, a few people close to me could tell you that it was a questionable decision. And I don't really mind. It is what it is, but I made it work. What about you, Deb? I know that you have always been an entrepreneur. You always had this gutsy, like, I'm doing it, period. How do you deal with, not having this security blanket your whole life?
Well, that's an interesting question. Thank you. So, I mean, I did have jobs, a lot of people know, because, yes, I'm in my 50s. I'm glad that you're venturing into there, and I've been doing this entrepreneur thing for about 30 years. But here's the truth. We compare ourselves to all sorts of people, right? I did create a studio that had staff. We were opened, we closed. I was a traditional business, right? So I had traditional jobs before. I used to, work for Carter GM and, Granada and all these companies. So I know what it was like to punch the clock and get that secured paycheck. And when I ventured into being an entrepreneur, it was because I was following the love of holistic health at a time where no one even knew what that meant. They're like, you're what? You're what? Oh, you're doing massage. Okay. Right. And so I kind of followed my path of the love of the industry, not so much the idea I was going to be an entrepreneur. Just one came after the other. But the interesting thing is that when people think you are an entrepreneur, somehow it sounds like it's landed, that you're an entrepreneur, you came to that decision, and it's been a bliss ever since. Now, people that are smart in business understand that every business has a journey, but the real question is, and it was funny when I was talking to Brenda, I was like, I question that sometimes. Like, I think one of the things that makes me still stay in this interesting world of entrepreneurialism is that I'm drawn, it feeds so many things about me. Like I say I'm a creative, not an entrepreneur. But, don't think that when I was pregnant with my daughter and I was having to try to make it work. And my friends were on mat leave, right? They had mat leave. Or, my brother, my brother at heart, he has been, he's a union guy. And, I remember getting into a fight in the kitchen with him about sick days and sick leave. And he's like, we should get more sick leave. And I'm like, what, why is it your corporation's problem that you eat, they eat pizza and drink Coke? Why should they take your, and we got into this fight as an entrepreneur. I'm like, I never get sick days, but I'm not going to say that I've never had times where I thought, is this the right decision for me? Is this the right decision? Because sometimes, it looks better on the other side. The grass looks greener sometimes. Oh, you go to work, you get your paycheck. Wow, you're not thinking about marketing at 11 o'clock before you go to bed, So I'm not going to say that I haven't truthfully thought, do they have it better over there? It's just that I can't get over there. I like it over here more than I like it over there. But yeah.
Yeah, I had this thing like that one of my boss told me at some point, and it was shortly before I actually decided to do the big jump. He's like, Carolyn, you have issues with authority. I'm like, yeah, maybe I do. Maybe I do. I have to say in all of my jobs, it had to be jobs that I was really free of creating and doing. But let's bring our guest to help us answer that question. Like, do you ever look back and wonder? Brenda Pearce has been a nurse at heart forever, but she also decided to jump into the entrepreneurship. And, when I'm thinking nurse, for me, it's like, that's such a steady job, security, you will have it for life. You have your pension plan at the end. It's like, I don't know, like my mom, when she was looking for a job, nurse was the very most secure place to be. So I find it so interesting that Brenda decided to jump in, and I'm going to stop talking and welcome you, Brenda. Welcome to our show.
Well, thank you, girls. It's so wonderful to be with the True That team here. And yes, it's such a blessing to be able to share this story with you. Yes. So
awesome.
Yeah. So for me, I've been an RN for 38 years, and I just really stepped into retirement. I say retirement because I'm never going to be tired or retire. That's just never going to be in my purview, because I found years ago I was the most unlikely person to be a nurse. So for some people who think of an RN who's been doing this job for as long as I have, that I must have been into guts and gore and glory and all this sort of stuff, frontline nursing, rushing and drinking coffee at 2 o'clock in the morning to stay awake and all this stuff, the adrenaline high, that what am I doing, leaving that realm? Well, the thing is, like I say, I was the most unlikely person. I was the pass out queen in training. And so for me to get through training after being told, Brenda, you're a nice girl, maybe you should reconsider your career options. I said, I'm going to be an RN if it kills me. Anyway, I did. And I'm here. And 38 years later, I'm still, able to say that I've been there, done that, wear the t-shirt proudly. But I know that there's other ways of earning income and creating and helping. Nurses are nurturers. And so that nurturance is always going to be in me, but marketing and network marketing is a really perfect place to take that transfer of skills. Only there's no prescriptions and there's no pills and there's no procedures that are going to hurt you or harm you. Just the opportunity to watch people to thrive and survive and move on to achieve philanthropy and skill sets that are really unique in the market.
Wow. So what was that process for you? Because I think people see the outside of our lives. They're like, oh, she went from that to that. And they don't know what went on within the confines of our mind when someone goes and makes that decision. First of all, what is it like to finally land at that decision? Was there any, should I, shouldn't I? I've been doing this too long. No, I love it. No, they need me. No, I got to go. Like, what's the process that you went through? Because I believe that a lot of people in the world of entrepreneurship went from one process to another. And sometimes when you're an entrepreneur, sometimes people go back or they go on to another company, particularly in our field, right? So, or people go from Coca-Cola to Pepsi, or whatever it is, they change companies and they stay in the same sector. What was your process with so many years rooted? And obviously in an industry where those colleagues of yours would have been friends of yours. Like, you don't stay 38 years at a job and not make relationship. So what was that mental process like for you?
Well, yeah, of course, there's also added to nursing is the registration and licensing. So, you had to tiptoe through and make sure that you were compliant with licensure, as well as your career, your colleagues. Everybody knows everybody in a profession, and so professionality and responsibility are always key pieces that you have to think about. But I think what it is, there's always like, what else is there? The first part of my career, I worked for 22 years in the same hospital. I wore different hats, but it was only one job and one career for 22 years. And that was it on my resume. And I decided to expand. So I expanded my nursing career into teaching. So I got in with a college, and I started teaching various courses and programs, full-time, part-time, on the side time. And even then, at one point, my employer at the hospital actually recognized my professional credentials of expanding beyond and asked me to upgrade staff as upgrades were needed. And so there was that as well. Just when you get some recognition for what you do, it really is a validator, a qualifier that, oh my goodness, I guess I can do more. I can step beyond what is traditionally perceived and do more. And so that became my thought process. What else can I do? And when I dipped my toes for the original first time, it was an Amway presentation way back in 1997, and I fell off my chair. I had to go to a 3 to 11 shift, and I stumbled down the stairs when I heard about the potentials of what network marketing could bring. And in those days, product fulfillment was very archaic compared to now. So, if I was thrilled then with the potentials, and it really opened up the door to me that I could take what I know and I can transfer those skills into a loving and wonderful way without denigrating who I am and what I do professionally. Because that's one of the big things is many of us identify too closely to who we are as our career path. And when I realized, and it took a lot of mindset and reading good information, that we really are not a career, we are a person, and we have the right to choose. And when I started to realize that, oh my goodness, I started rocking it.
You know what, I want to touch on a point that you said there, and it just like came so clearly to me that I feel I need to share it so someone will hear it. But when you said that we're so often identified to our careers, it is so true. In my family, everyone has a position. One is a judge, one is a roofer, one is a lawyer. They went to school for a specific title. They got a diploma, went out, got the job. Well, not roofing, but all of the other ones. And I remember, I went through school, I went through university and everything. I did my bachelor in marketing, which basically means, you did a bachelor in business in general. But I remember going out and thinking, I don't have a title, I don't have a title. And since I'm 24, I've worked, and even at 17 actually was my first experience of starting someone else's business. So I was an entrepreneur, but I never had a title because, well, at some point they gave me some sort of titles, director of whatever and this and that. But I remember when my dad was passing, one of the last things I told him, I said, gosh, I wish there had been a few more years and that I would have been somebody before you passed, because I felt I didn't have this title. Identifying to your career is so big. People don't even realize how big it is. And it's actually when he answered me, he's like, Carolyn, you've always been somebody and you've been building so many things. He's like, you don't have one specific title. You just adapt to anything. But it's only then that I started seeing it differently. So, one thing that I applaud you is that you had the title and you had the security and everything, and you still decided to jump into network marketing. And what I want to highlight here is that, when people think about network marketing, a lot of people will be like, oh, I don't like to sell. That's the first thing we always hear. I don't want to sell. And teachers and nurses are actually the best network marketers because we don't sell in network marketing. We help people, we bring them solutions, and we teach them stuff. And I think that that's why it probably, came to get you, because you knew that you could help people through a company and some products. So talk a bit about this angle of your
Well,
business.
for sure. I'm happy to, because the thing is though, through my career, we all use products, we all use services. We don't know what the network behind it, the network chain of events that happens when we buy something from Amazon. And then we don't realize that when we're buying through an affiliate, that we're actually supporting an independent contractor who is putting their services through something. So we're all networking. We all are. Even right down in healthcare, there's the drug reps and the pharmaceutical regional manager, and then there's the drug company and all this stuff like that. Everything has a network behind it. Even health and wellness, I couldn't give my injections unless the area manager for the company that sold the syringes, so we're just used to being end user consumers. And, but this is really, when you do the deep dive into considering what network marketing is and direct sales and all this sort of thing, it's just taking a step into a different realm, but it's a transfer of skills. That's the big thing. The network of my peers, nurses have to soft sell the difficult jobs. Like, if I have somebody who's resistant to getting a vaccine, or somebody who's resistant to have their blood drawn or something like that, we have to do a soft sell. And so for and teachers as well too, they have to, something new has to be taught and everybody groans in the classroom. They have to soft sell that. So they're using their skill sets in a very, very unique and very viable way. And when you think about moving into entrepreneurship, you don't know business and taxes and, supply chains and all this sort of thing, but you do have a willingness to learn and to be able to be viable in that role of being able to see the end result, whether it be like in many things that we do in our day-to-day jobs. But the thing is though, so it's really important for us to realize that, we all have a unique skill set. And just to go back to the thing about the title, I have somebody in one of my downlines who is a very dear friend of mine, and she is a clinical psychologist, and it took her 20 years to work from where she started to end up to get her her PhD in psychology. And for a long time, she was thinking that I'm underselling, I'm ruining my the way to give it is she was really giving up on her PhD by doing something different. But the thing is though, when she realized how she was able to use her skill sets as a clinical psychologist to help make sales and help people to get beyond because of the roadblocks in their life, in their business, she realized that she could transfer those skills into a new format. So it doesn't matter if you are, we sometimes think we always want what we don't have. So many of us want to have a title if they don't have a title. And so many of us that have a title, think that we're selling out our title if we do something different. But the thing is though, it's a survival chain. Multiple streams of income is very important in today's end stop. We all have to have multiple streams of income. You never know when one stream is going to end. You have to have something in place, and investing in yourself in network marketing and creating that multiple stream of income. I never saw divorce coming, and I'm glad I had a multiple stream of income to help me, or changes in life. Like now, as I'm getting into the, I'm 59. I decided to retire from the registered nurse thing, but the nurse in me is always going to be there. So I'm not selling out my profession by turning my tables and now living my bliss. Now I get to sleep in my bed at night. I don't have to get up early. I don't have to not go to the bathroom when I want to. I don't have to, there's so many pluses to creating a multiple stream and making it your new go-to when you decide to stop one avenue. And that's it. It's truly a practical way to go.
when you talk, I just can't stop but thinking of the word empowerment, right? Of empowerment, being able to put things in its place. I remember my teacher, she's on the other side, Dr. Light Miller, and we did an incredible Ayurvedic treatment. So I'm into Ayurveda and I do Ayurveda. And so I was in the receiving, which is honestly a great place to be. And so there's a part of this treatment, it's a multi-hour treatment. And there's a part of it where, you get to talk things to people, places, or things that you want to have a conversation with. And she goes, okay. And she's known me. I had my business 20 years, 25 years at that point. And she goes, okay, so anything that you've ever wanted to say to your business. Now we're in the middle of doing this process. And she goes, I'm going to bring your business in. I'm like, what? She's like, what would you like to say to your business? I'm like, what? And I was like, what do I want to say to myself? She goes, no, what do you want to say to your business? Like, I would like you to serve me better. I would like to. And it was the first time in 25 years, I separated myself from my business. I was Metropolitan Relaxation Studio. I did the treatments. I taught the treatments. She's like, you're not your business. You're not your business. Have a conversation with your business. It was the most bizarre thing, but one of the most spiritual moments of entrepreneurship I've ever had in that separation. I think that when I hear you talk, I think about empowerment, because when I realized I was not I was not my company, I was the owner of my company, it gave me more power to have a conversation and have like a healthy break and a relationship with my company instead of it being all, because then it also alleviated this pressure that I was supposed to be all, do all, and have all. That was one thing. But the other thing is we are in such an incredible time. Like we're talking, we're on here, Caroline's almost 50, I'm in my 50s, and you're almost 60. And so I think we've come from a different place of cultural, where you were something, and that your parents or community were hoping that you got through school to be something so that you could go live your own life and have that healthy break of autonomy and take care of yourself and your next family. And I think that was very relevant and honestly, really needed, right? I think it was really needed, right? Yeah. We're in a situation now where parents are learning skills. I'm learning skills that are helping my 17-year-olds business online, because that's how I have to do to keep my business survive. My mother could never have taught me about what I needed to be an entrepreneur because it wasn't her culture. So I think we're embarking also on a time of allowance of multiple streams of income, of multiple hats, right? It's not, people used to say to me, just pick one, just pick one. Right. I had the massage studio. I had the aromatherapy company. I'm like, it's in the same bucket. Everything I do is kind of health, wellness, and wealth. But even if it wasn't, like Caroline's brother, maybe he's a roofer who decides that he wants to sell skincare. Right. It's okay now, but it wasn't okay then. And you felt like you were betraying something or someone. So I think we are breaking ground. So as you talk about it, I'm a big believer in that we kind of lay path. And I think we're the ones that are breaking that path for people that are coming up that have 2 or 3 jobs. Look at myself and Caroline. We do books, we do a podcast. You have an amazing podcast. You have a media company. You come from a nursing background. You do cell regeneration. It's like, it's okay now. But before it was like, just pick one, one. And you're like, I don't want to, right? So anyways, I thought I'd feed to that. But one of the ways that we did connect was through your love of health and wellness, right? And so tell us a little bit about that, because the company you've chosen is a little bit, maybe something that no one's ever heard about before. I mean, you don't have to go into the whole thing, but what was it that attracted you to that company?
Oh, well, absolutely. So 4 or 5 years ago, I was co-producing a live event in Southwestern Ontario called the Breast Show in Town. And my partner was a very naturopathic nurse. So she had combined, and she did thermography, which is the healthy way of doing breast mammography without any pain and all that sort of thing. And it's using far infrared technology. And she believed, and the stats have proven out, that breast cancer can be prevented. And I was right on board with that, because, every one of us has been touched by somebody with breast cancer. And we think that it's a lockstep to doom, that, oh my gosh, I'm going to get it too. But we don't have to. And one of the big factors was the environmental factors of the Wi-Fi and the EMFs and the radiation that's being let loose into our environment more and more as we are becoming so dependent on technology. You know, unless you take a look at what technology is doing to us, you don't know these things. We can't live without our gizmos and gadgets today. And of course, this podcast show would not happen without it. So, but the thing is, though, for everything that is good and man-made, there is drawbacks and there's some suppression of information. And one of the things that is very relevant today is the heightened aging that most of us adults are going through, and the onslaught of chronic diseases. And we are taking that is normal, and it's not. It really isn't. It is a product of the cell vibration in our body. If you ever been to a clock shop and you see the pendulums on clocks are all in sync with each other, that's how our cells are supposed to be doing. But with the erratic frequencies outside of our natural body's resonance of frequency, they become discordant. And so there's a lack of communication, a lack of dissemination of nutrients and waste from the cells, and they get clogged up and they don't know what to do. And we have heightened increases in pain and poor circulation and this sort of thing, rapid aging. New diagnosis is mitochondrial dysfunction. So as my ears lit up, I paid attention to Ali Ox, learned more about pulsed electromagnetic field therapy, knew that it was Tesla technology developed by NASA to help astronauts to live in space outside of our atmosphere. And I went, oh, so our 70 trillion cells in our body need to have healthy resonance in order to have an alkaline state of being, to fight resist, build up our immunity, to fight aging, regenerate our cells in a healthy manner. And I got in with that because I needed it. I used it. I saw it, you know, and I tried it out on different people, and they all saw effects. And I went, oh my gosh, all health is cell health, people. It doesn't matter what you do above if your cell health isn't resonating in a proper manner. And I thought this is fundamental. You know, if you want to look good, feel good, sleep better, have less depression, better quality of life, start at the cell level. And that's how I got into it 4 years ago. Haven't looked back, growing a beautiful direct sales network. So it's not, you know, product purchase every month. It's a little bit different, but the rewards are just as significant and just as awesome. And it's so nice to see people actually improving their quality of life. So just like you, it's just amazing what we can do.
I think one of the things that makes me excited about when you talk about your company, not only are myself and Caroline very, you know, deep rooted in health and wellness, but I just think it's really important to show our listeners and our viewers that network marketing is a vast field. And that if people haven't played in it anymore, I am telling you, I still get, and there is nothing against laundry soap because I buy everything in my house through direct sales because I know it lands in helping a family. But they're like, oh, like so-and-so company with laundry soap. And I'm like, you know, our industry is just not laundry soap anymore. It's not just lipstick anymore. It's not just energy drinks anymore, which is vast. I'm like, it is a vast field of fundamental products that people love, enjoy, and need all over. I'm like, it's so vast of what is actually now in this new economy and in this new business, using this platform to put out to the world incredible products. I mean, who would have thought, right? They're like, what? So anyways, I'm going to pass it over to Caroline.
Well, I was just going to say that whatever, even if it's only laundry soap, like, isn't that one of the things that when you run out, you're like, oh crap, oops. Oh my gosh, I ran out, or when you run out of toilet paper, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Isn't that the one thing you do not want to run out? So there's no, for me, there's no product that is not worth it. It's all about, you need to represent something you believe in. That's it. Like, and you need to represent something, like for me, the one thing that I would tell to anyone wanting to consider network marketing is, first of all, go in something that you're passionate about, that you're using, research your company. Because like in any industry, there's the top most amazing ones, and there's some that you should not associate with, you know, and that's in everything. So research a company. And then when you find a company that has a culture that aligns with your value, I think that that is where you can actually succeed. I've heard quite a few times people saying, oh yeah, this guy, like he tried like 6, 7 different companies and he's just not succeeding. In my mind, when I hear that, it's more, I hear like he did not align with the right company yet. It doesn't mean that, and kudos to him for trying this many times and keep trying, even if it didn't work. So my point to all of this is that I'm a huge supporter as well of this industry, because I do think that there's a big portion of the expenses that are cut off with marketing and advertisement and all of that we don't do in that industry, that is actually reinvested in the quality of the product, in research and development, and etc. So that was my my thing on network marketing. Now, Brenda, I want to also give you kudos because you were a nurse for 38 years, and then you decided to jump into an industry, give it your all, go at the top. But also you decided to really work on everything that you could offer people. So I know that you're launching a website. Would you like to talk about that?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Yes, I actually launched brendapearce.com. So it's BRENDAPEARCE.com. And it just went live this morning. So it's fresh off the press. I've been working on it for 4 years, but the thing was that magic moment when you get the URL to connect to your website, and then it's like, boom, it's rocket fuel. It's real, it's live, and so are you, you're out there now. And I'm using it to promote, obviously, the PEMF therapy, but also I have a podcast, which is international. It's on the Dream Vision 7 Media Network. I have a TV show on Rogers, which I've been doing for 6, 7 years now. I've lost count. But it's all about empowered living, and the TV show is Oxford Empowered. So empowerment, my guys, is the whole thing. And you were right on when you hear the word empowerment coming out of what I'm saying. It's true. It doesn't matter what age or stage you are in life. You can empower yourself to make a change, and it's just a thought. One little thought can open the door to so much. And that's what happened for me all those years ago. Is that thought happened? What else can I do? When I get to 60, 65, what am I going to do? So I believe the rest of my life is the best of my life. And I want to share that with everyone. And so there you go, brendapearce.com.
And thank you so much for beautiful women like you for empowering people. And I second you 100% when you said it's not about the age. Because honestly, one of the person that taught me the most about vision is my daughter, because she's been visualizing stuff since she's 2 and it all happened. And she empowers me. So anyone can teach you at any age. It's just a question of passing on the knowledge and the passion. Brenda, thank you so much for being on our show. Like, it was a pleasure. And I also want to welcome you to the 20 Powerful Women in Network Marketing, Volume 2, a book that we will launch October 1st. So 20 more stories, guys, about, amazing women like Brenda that will actually dig a little deeper and talk about their journey and their, challenges and everything, and how did they go to the top, because it's never a straight line. It's always a roller coaster. So it's true stories, and you will also get like amazing tips, their success tips, because they're generous enough to all share some with us. So on that, thank you, Brenda, and I will leave the last word to Deborah because she likes it.
Because she likes, there it is. There, I call it, there's the pot, because Caroline taught me that. Thank you, Brenda, so much. Thank you, Caroline. It's always a pleasure. Every week we get to have this experience together. It's really one of the highlights of being an entrepreneur, is hanging out with like-minded people. And I do want to kind of put a word out there. This is a media world, as you just heard, and we have doubled our media time. And so if you see yourself coming on to the True That show and wanting to share what you do, whether you're a lifepreneur, an entrepreneur, we welcome you to reach out. And this is the first show that we are announcing that Caroline and I have taken in your requests, as well as our own, in that search for the ultimate entrepreneurial planner. We are going to have 200 quotes in that planner from people like Brenda and other guests that have been on the show. If you would like to put a quote in a planner that is ultimate for people that are entrepreneurial, business minded, and or just like to have everything in one place, we encourage you to reach out as soon as possible, because we are going to be going to print soon for this year's first edition. That will be an annual planner. So we're super excited about what we got going on over there, and we welcome you to contact Brenda for what she has to offer, as well as Caroline and ourselves. We'd love to see you on the show or in our books. So with that, ladies, I think we'll just send us off to the world. And it was just a great day.
Thank you,
Thank
ladies.
you.
All right.